nothing.
Alright. Today, we are going to take a look at... Today, we are going to take a look at solving systems of equations from word problems. Right? So, the solving part is going to be exactly like what we've been doing. The only new part is we actually have to write the equations. Okay? So we have to figure out what our word problem is saying in order to write two equations. So let's read through this here. It just says, sporting goods store gets a shipment of 124 golf bags. There are two types of bags in this shipment, full-size and collapsible. Full-size bags are $38.50 each, and the collapsible bags are $22.50 each. The total cost that the store paid for these 124 bags was $3,430. And from this information, we want to figure out how many of each type of bag was ordered. Okay? So the first thing that we need to do is define our variables. Right? Our variables are going to be the two things that we want to figure out. Right? So in this problem, what am I trying to figure out? What's the goal? How many of each type? Right? There are two different types. So I'm going to define my two variables as those two different types of golf bags. So we can say that x is equal to the number of full-size bags, and y is equal to the number of collapsible bags. So now, looking at the information we have, we want to write two equations. Right? In all of these problems, there is going to be enough information to write two different equations dealing with x and y. And this is usually the most difficult part. Right? We've done a lot of practice with the solving part. Writing the equations, though, deciphering what the word problem is telling us is usually the most challenging part. So let's look at this first sentence. It says the total amount of golf bags that we got was 124. Okay? So we can say that the number of full-size bags plus the number of collapsible bags is equal to 124. That would just look like this. Right? X plus y equals 124. Yep. Exactly. 34. Okay, so our other equation, okay, when we know the cost of the bags, we'll say that, well, each of the full-size bags costs $38.50. Each of the collapsible bags costs $22.50. So if I multiply those costs by the number of bags, I'll get the total, $3,430. I have my two equations now. Now, we want to solve the system. That's what we've been doing. Right? We talked about three ways to do that. We can use graphing, substitution, or elimination. And now I think most of you felt most comfortable with elimination. Right? But sometimes it will actually be a lot easier to use one method or the other. Right? It's totally your choice, though. If you want to use elimination on every single one of them, you can. Or if you want to use substitution on every single one of them, you can. So, what would be your preferred method to solve this system of equations? Substitution? I mean, I think substitution would probably make the most sense on this one. Right? But if you're not comfortable with substitution, you can use elimination. Right? But I'm going to use substitution to solve this one. So what would I do? What would my first step be if I'm going to use substitution? Yeah, we just want to pick one of the equations and solve for one of the variables. Right? It doesn't matter which one we do. But the first equation is probably going to be a lot easier to use since both my x and y have a coefficient of positive 1. Right? So doesn't matter if I solve for x or y. So I'll subtract my x over, get y equals negative x plus 124. So, what's that? So now I'm going to take this and plug it in for y in my other equation. Right? Since we solved for y, I'm going to take negative x plus 124 and plug it in for y. So that'll look like this. 38.5x plus 22.5 times negative x plus 124 equals 3430. And we just solve this equation. So I would distribute this 2250 through. So 38.5x minus 22.5x plus 22.5 times 124. 2,790. Now what? Yep, I combine my like terms right here. So 38.5x minus 22.5x, I think it's just 16x, plus 2790 equals 3430. Right, now subtract this 2790 over. Yep, so 16x equals 640. Now what? Divide by 16. So you get x equals 40. So in the context of this problem, what does that mean? What did we just figure out?
Figure out one of them.
Exactly. We figured out that there are 40 full-size bags in this shipment. Okay? If x was 40, well, that was the number of full-size bags. Right, so now we still need to solve for y, so I'll plug 40. And it doesn't matter which equation I use, but it would be a lot easier to use the first one. Right? What's that? Well, we want to figure out how many collapsible bags there are.
So there's 40.
There's 40 full-size bags. So then how many collapsible bags are there?
There's 84.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what we're doing here. I'm just writing it out. Right, you did this process in your head, and that's okay, that's fine. So, now, in a word problem like this, we don't really want to write our answer as a coordinate point, like we did when we just had equations. If we're solving a word problem, we want to write out what this answer means. So, this means, right, we determined there were 40 full-size bags and 84 collapsible bags. Yeah. So that's what would go under the solution under step 5 there. I just didn't want to erase all this and scroll down. Do we feel okay with that process? It is a lot. There's a lot going on.
One thing happened.
So we have to define our variables, figure out what the question is asking, write 2 equations, and then solve the system using either substitution or elimination. Right? We don't really want to use graphing for these types of problems. It's usually either substitution or elimination. And then express our answer in terms of the problem. Okay. Questions so far? All right, let's do another one together here. Let's jump down to number 2. All right, so here we've got a beach resort offering 2 weekend specials. The first one is a a 2-night stay and 3 meals for $195.
Those are variables.
Sounds good.
What are our variables?
Second one.
All right, let's go. Let's go. All right, and then the other offer includes a 3-night stay and 5 meals for $300. So then it says, find the cost of a 1-night stay and the cost of 1 meal. So how are we going to define our variables? What are we trying to find? Right, so our 2 variables are going to be the cost for 1 night and the cost for 1 meal. So, let's look at this first piece of information. Okay, it says a 2-night stay plus 3 meals costs $195. So, how would I turn that into an equation? Exactly. 2x plus 3y equals 195. 2 times the cost of 1 night plus 3 times the cost of 1 meal is $195. So then the other offer is a 3-night stay with 5 meals for $300. So how can I write that as an equation? X plus 5y equals 3. Exactly. So now, how am I going to solve this? Yeah, I think elimination would probably be the better option here. But you could use substitution. So how do I do that? What do I do for elimination? Sure. Yeah. Right. So if I want to eliminate the x's, I would just multiply by the opposite coefficient, right? So if the coefficient in my second equation is 3, I'll multiply the top equation by 3, and vice versa. Now, since they were both positive, one of these will have to be negative. And it doesn't matter which one you make negative. Okay? So I'll just make this one negative. So let's do that. So if I multiply the top equation by 3, I'll get 6x plus 9y equals 585.
That's impressive.
I just did 3 times 200 and subtracted 3 times 5.
That's impressive.
So negative 2 times 3x would be negative 6x, and minus 10y equals negative 600. So now I just want to add these equations together. 6x plus negative 6x cancels out. 9y plus negative 10y would be negative 1y. Okay? And then 585 plus negative 600. Negative 15. So then, right, so then we'll have to divide both sides by negative 1, and we get y is 15. So what does that mean in the context of this problem?
$15 per meal.
Right, cost per meal is $15. Now we still need to figure out the cost for 1 night. How do I do that?
Plug it in.
Plug it.
Divided.
Just divide it?
Hey, you 5 times 15, give you 75. 300 minus 75, 2.5,
Yes. So show us how to do that. Plugging it all in.
Did he just add more knowledge to the class by choice?
Yes.
What are you doing, man?
So we'll have 2x plus 3 times 15 equals 195. Or you can plug it into the other one. It does not matter. So we get 2x plus 45 equals 195. I will subtract this 45 over to the other side then. We get 2x equals 150. So once we have our 2 solutions, remember we want to write out what that means. So we would say cost for 1 night is $75, And the cost for one meal is $15. Feeling okay so far? All right, then let's turn it over to the back. And I think let's take a look at number 4 first, because number 3 is a little bit different. So let's take a look at number 4. And I want to see if you guys can set this one up. Okay, so take a few minutes here, see if you guys can set up number 4. Okay, we're going to skip number 3 for just a second. Take a look at number 4. Okay, see if you can define your variables, set up your equations, solve your system, and then express your answer as a sentence. So, just want to read the video.
Hey, my name's Wayne.
Sit down. Real big feeling. Who's this guy? Response. Get Brian Johnson on the stage.
Thanks, buddy. Dude, just came out the washer. Well, it's obviously a screen, I guess. They're coming out.
Yes. So, did you find your variables?
So, I'm coming. No, I'm just playing. I'm not throwing it in. Wait.
So, we want to figure out how many
I'm like, I can't do word problems by myself. Like, I have to have someone.
Your fault.
Yes. Is he in there? Yes.
I really want like this, and you just me helping me start clicking on my leg. That's
Stop.
So,
Stop calling you that.
yes, I don't.
Tell her to stop calling you
Doesn't
that.
work.
That makes me so uncomfortable. I was gonna ask, like, are we doing the same thing? Which one would I do?
you can do either one. So in this case, it's set up nicely to do ones.
Okay. So
I
that's
think everyone was definitely
oops.
Leslie's crazy, Corey's crazy.
I said
Michael's
numbers
crazy.
Yeah, because that's what we're trying to find. How many students are in a band? How many students are in a bus? So those are our variables. You guys doing on this?
Oh, I'm ready for this.
Class last year, students was doing like a bunch of word problems and packet or review packers. And
I was watching
I was not having it. I was like, I could not. I just wanted to put my head down and cry. I was like, "How you guys doing this?" And he was like, I want to die. Yeah, he's like, I'm out.
Oh my gosh, well now I'm going to let you all
I'm
hurt.
told you about it. I got
Sorry.
Well, you can get rebounds. Like, that was
Yeah.
one thing they were missing.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's the point of hitting each other when they get back.
you know, so you can stretch the floor more.
Expect to hit back. Hey, you ready? Well, yeah. Alright. Okay.
I get scared when people
Oh,
say
that's a hit. That's your hit.
let's say negative four. What? Don't confuse me right now. Okay, no, we're not doing that right now, because I'm already, I feel like I'm drowning.
You're the only one that's thinking like that.
Alright, Wayne.
I mean, the way you said it.
This week I should go to send him anyway. Okay, gotcha. Multiply one of these by negative one. Yeah, because you just need the y's to be negative, opposite.
Oh, you gave me 3.
Here, how about
Negative
yours?
What's so stupid, John?
How many?
So my class
Say your
decided they wanted to keep track of how many times they say like, I'm stupid or I'm an idiot or something like that. So they started putting tallies on board. Whatever.
How many of this class
Say,
you
I'm
put another
dumb
one on?
or I'm
Every
stupid.
time we were talking, that sounds pretty weird.
That sounds pretty homo.
That was a little homo.
I mean, it's okay.
He said, you're
I'm saying it's not okay to be either.
that's what it's not towards me.
Right.
She said, this is the way she said this.
Yes,
She's like, oh, cool.
It's not okay to be gay.
Why I can't walk.
That sounds wrong.
No, you pushed me a leg. I was like, you're the reason why I can't walk.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
But,
And
wait,
then
you said it,
Wayne's
you
like-
didn't see the
Wayne's like,
action.
I do a bunch of different things.
Yeah, but that's why you don't get pointed at no.
Oh, yeah, we're even. I can't move it. We're even. We are even. You know how many other times you can have it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts every time you get me water.
That's my leg right now.
Why your leg is my leg feels like every time I walk, I literally have a bruise in the same spot.
Oh, what's it? My next class. Limping down the stairs. And I'm not taking that. That's the goal. I'm just keep it on and on. You're the one that did first.
Whoa, it is something.
Don't expect no comment for that.
Okay, just don't hit me, I'm not gonna hit you. What numbers did you make? I don't aggravate you.
For my answers?
Oh, you know that's a lie.
Oh, you're the us.
Well, I can't honestly be verbally abusive because you don't get it.
Because I don't care.
That's what I'm saying. You care about your legs.
Because it hurts.
And
I
then
know.
Then I get really abusive.
actually, I'm bad.
It's not confused about
Bad. Stop it.
Alright, I'm about to start this.
Yeah,
We did it. Haley, did you do it too?
what up? Actually, did word problem.
help you?
Huh?
I went to like this to go brush the things off of my nail polish.
They know we're usually like,
Mine does that all the time. When I used to. Now I don't.
Marshall.
You won't let it be. But somehow it's something.
Alright. You lock it, I get another 3 hits.
Oh, no.
Hey, Mr. Fraser, are you still recording? You're on.
You're
Oh, so I can hear everything? I remember when I was here. Yeah, you might want to delete this video then.
No, that one has just like that. You're in your room like this.
You know for a fact you listen to the man.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. You had your arms down. You put it just like this.
Alright, I'm gonna hit your arm then.
That's fine.
Hit your arm.
Never mind.
Yeah, my arm might hit your arm.
No.
Yeah.
You said you can block it, then I get another
Great shot. I'm
When I go to the
I'm not
bathroom,
hitting you in the arm. I'm hitting you in your arm. Hey, that's my arm. I got a question.
I know, but I gotta hit him first. Too.
So, you already hit me 5 times. You hit me last time for no reason.
I was 22.
You already assaulted me 5 times.
Show me a bruise.
who's that?
I can't pull my cheek up that high.
Alright then.
That's what you do is get a sales day for it.
I was thinking about that.
Like 2.
Your hands here.
You hit me in the hand like that. Right there. Right there. Feel that? Right in your body. Okay?
I knew he was asking.
Yes.
Like, alright.
No way.
He asked me if I didn't want to get something
14
for the game.
What?
Ask me.
Those are the best ones.
Hey, hold on. What, what do you want? What?
He's like, you know, some of the pets.
Good for you. What? Stepmom, do we have some short haircuts? I know a couple.
Why don't we stuff?
Oh my god.
What's that one?
I can't see.
Short hair.
They were a couple of big brothers. Just this past year.
Yeah.
They got together towards the end. I guess I should.
Yeah, me and Odo cut it up.
And like Bailey and Swaggy see getting married after knowing each other for 28 days. Did it?
Guys!
Bailey.
Sorry, I was in I'm trying to text somebody.
Remember when you had to, I don't know what it's called.
The little short shaggy.
My arm was
That was fine. He had shaggy arms.
You can't go. I couldn't. I hit you.
I don't care.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna just leave it on.
You don't still cut it?
I did.
I don't think you did.
You get the
Alright, so as I was walking around, saw a lot of correct answers for this one.
Thank you.
Okay? I got that one van can carry 14 students and one bus can carry 55 students. Okay? So, questions on this process?
No, it's pretty expensive. I've done this before. Now I get it.
Making some sense now?
It's still different.
So, let's take a look at number 3 here. Okay, number 3 is a little bit different than 1, 2, and 4. Just a little different. Not a lot. Alright, so the first thing that we want to figure out is our variables. Okay, so remember, the variables are always whatever the question is asking us to find. Okay, so what are the things? Well, take a second and read through this. Cost. Now,
I'm talking about number 3.
yeah, so we're looking at number 3 now.
Why are you reading about
Garbage are us.
Yeah, we got dumpsters in, or dumpers in.
That's
Not
disgusting.
dumpsters in, dumpers in, and garbage are us.
No. I hate that.
So,
I like that, yeah.
what are my 2 variables going to be in this situation?
Per hour.
Yeah, so number of hours,
real and roll?
and what's my other variable going to be? Not cost per hour, just total cost. Yeah, total cost. Okay, so now we need to try to use this to write 2 equations. So it says Dumpers Inc. rents a dumpster for $100 plus $15 an hour. And then Garbage R Us rents a dumpster for $50 but then $25.
Plus 15 on.
Well, I'm saying, hold. I don't even gotta go.
Wait, not quite. So the reason that this one is a little bit different than the other 3 that we've done is that we're given a constant term here and then something that changes. Right? It says Dumpers Inc. It costs $100 to bring the dumpster out, and then another $15 an hour. So the way I would express that, right, would just be, well, I know it's going to cost $100 to bring it out. That part doesn't change, right? There's no variable associated with that. But then it's $15 per hour. So my first equation, the total cost, is going to be equal to 100 plus 15 times the number of hours. It is. So then, how would I express the amount that Garbage R Us charges for their dumpster? 50 plus 25 X, right?
A question. So what if I just did the 25 and then I plug that in, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until I get a number. And then I do 15 times blah, 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 blah. And then whenever 15 is 50 less than 25, I know that's going to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that would work. All right, so this is how I would write my system of equations here. How am I going to solve this?
Already solved.
It's done. So I mean, this one is set up nicely to either use substitution or elimination, right? I can easily do either method in this case. So which one do you prefer?
Elimination.
Substitution.
All right, I heard half and half. So we can do it both ways. I mean, in this case, they're both pretty straightforward. So I'll just go through both ways. We've got 5 minutes, plenty of time. All right. So if I want to use substitution, well, I already have y solved. So what I would do is take this and plug it in for y in the other equation. So what we end up with is just 50 plus 25x equals 100 plus 15x. Oh.
Okay.
Then we just want to solve. So my 15, do it. Thank you. Drag the 15x over. 50 plus 10x equals 100. Drag this over. 10x equals 50. Divide by 10. And x equals 5. So what does that mean? What did we just find? That's the number of hours to make it be the same, exactly. Right? So after 5 hours, these two dumpsters would cost the same amount. So let's figure out what that amount is. So I'm going to take my 5 and plug it back into either equation for x. So 100 plus 15 times 5. So 100 plus 75. Y is 175. So what does this mean then? Right, so after 5 hours, these will be the same cost, and that cost is $175. Right, that's what we just found out. So we can write that out. Right? So after 5 hours, the cost for both dumpsters would be $175. Now, there is one extra question down here. It says if you planned to take 2 days to use the dumpster, which company should you go with? Which one's going to be cheaper? Why?
It's $10 cheaper every hour.
Right.
5 hours, that's it.
Exactly. Right, so after 5 hours, we know these cost the same, but Dumpers Inc. is growing, the cost is growing at a slower rate. It's $10 cheaper per hour. So if we're going to keep the dumpster longer than 5 hours, we would want to go with Dumpers Inc. If we were going to use it for less than 5 hours, we'd want to go with Garbage RS.
I feel like another easy way is explain this to a question. You're on that garbage on us, $3 and that's per